I get it. The skill set, they're not going to be boxers. They're not going to be moving like boxers because they're not boxers by craft either.
He's very tall. He's very strong, but his chin is not as strong as it needs to be against him.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside the Cage, where we bring you the latest and exciting updates of UFC. First, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Jake Paul and Nate Diaz heated exchange of words. There is the ongoing drama between Jake Paul and Nate Diaz. And yes, they just keep heating the things. Recently, Jake Paul made his return to the ring last month on Diaz's pay-per-view, marking his first fight since his loss to Tommy Fury back in February. His opponent this time? None other than Nate Diaz, who had last triumphed over Tony Ferguson at UFC 279. After that win, talk started swirling about the possibility of a rematch, perhaps even inside the PFL cage. Now, earlier today, he called out Jake Paul, saying they could throw down in MMA or boxing, but he genuinely couldn't care less. One thing he did make clear is that he's not interested in stepping into the PFL cage. He took to Twitter and threw some shade at his recent opponent, claiming Nate turned down a jaw-dropping $10 million deal and insinuating that he was afraid of taking another L. Furthermore, Jake, the YouTuber-turned-boxer, predicted that Nate would likely crawl back to Dana White and the UFC. While on the other hand, Nate Diaz doesn't seem too bothered by what Jake Paul had to say. He responded on Twitter, basically brushing off the YouTuber's words. Nate made it crystal clear that, in his view, Jake Paul wouldn't even know what to do in a real fight. So the saga between these two continues, with sparks flying both in and out of the ring or cage. Tyson Fury is ready to fight Jon Jones after Francis Ngannou's match. Have you heard about Tyson Fury's next move? After he takes care of business with former UFC heavyweight champ Francis Ngannou in the boxing ring, he's got his sights set on another big challenge. He wants to step into the octagon and go up against Jon Jones. Nice plans, right? During Thursday's festivities, Tyson Fury is talking about his upcoming fight with Francis Ngannou and his perspective on rematches. First, he clarifies that there won't be a rematch clause in their contract. This means that, unlike many boxing contracts, there's no agreement that if either of them loses, they automatically get a chance to fight each other again in a rematch. Tyson Fury explains that he's not a fan of rematches and has had legal issues in the past related to such clauses. He believes that when you beat someone once, that should be the end of it, and both fighters should move on to other opponents. However, Tyson Fury also hints at the possibility of fighting Ngannou again, but this time in a different setting, in the cage, referring to MMA. He expresses his confidence in his abilities and says he'd like to fight Ngannou in MMA because he believes he can beat him. "I don't like rematches, I hate them. I've been in litigation over proxy rematch clauses," Fury said. "When you beat a man once, that should be it. Move on." "I'd like to fight Ngannou in the cage. I think I can beat him for sure," Fury said. "He's not a good wrestler. He's known for striking, and I'm a better striker than him. In little gloves, I'd knock him out in seconds." See, this isn't the first time Tyson Fury and Jon Jones have been on each other's radar. It all started when Joe Rogan, the legendary commentator, suggested that Jon Jones would dominate Tyson Fury if they ever faced off. "I'd fight Jon Jones also in the cage if the money was right," Fury added. So it sounds like Fury's open to some serious cross-sport matchups, as long as the financial incentive is there. That could be one epic showdown if it ever happens. Jorge Masvidal's confidence in his boxing skills. Here, Jorge Masvidal is sharing his thoughts on the encounter between Jake Paul and Nate Diaz, which took place in Dallas, Texas last month. First, he expresses his lack of impressiveness with their performance. He acknowledges that both Jake Paul and Nate Diaz are not professional boxers by trade, so he doesn't expect them to have the same level of boxing skill as true boxers. He goes on to say that they could have been meaner, suggesting that he didn't see the intensity or aggression in their fight that he associates with high-level boxing matches. Later on, Jorge Masvidal shifts the focus to himself and his fighting style. He emphasizes that he considers himself to be a genuinely mean fighter.
I get it. The skill set, they're not going to be boxers. They're not going to be moving like boxers because they're not boxers by craft either. But the mean guy would have hurt each other, could have been meaner. That's why that fight being there live, I was like, man, I'm fucking mean for real, bro. And a lot of the guys that are in boxing are fucking mean for real. I didn't have that feeling when I left there that night. You know, like I don't know. I didn't feel like they were trying to kill each other, you know, or hurt each other, or like apply the sweet science so there's full mastery. So I'd hurt them dudes, bro. Like bad. I was there live. I seen it, man. Man, this is a different speed.
How did you and
Nate seen it? You could ask him about this. You could ask Nate about the speed. And if Jake was having trouble, you know what I'll do to Jake, man?
Confidently, Masvidal states that if he were in Jake Paul's position, he would have had an even tougher time in the ring. He suggests that he would have caused significant harm to Jake Paul if they were to fight, emphasizing the difference in speed and skill that he perceives between himself and the fighters in the Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz bout. Guys, if you're enjoying the video, we'd love your support. Just hit that subscribe button to motivate us to bring you more exciting content. Tai Tuivasa questions Alexander Volkov's chin strength before UFC 293. Tai Tuivasa is feeling pretty confident about his upcoming fight against Alexander Volkov at UFC 293, which is going down in Sydney, Australia. This fight is kind of a big deal for him because it's in his hometown, and he's eager to make a strong comeback. Even though the odds makers might have him as the underdog in this matchup, Tuivasa isn't fazed at all. On the UFC 293 promo video, he said, he goes on to express his confidence in his abilities by saying that Volkov better try to beat him before he, Tuivasa, lands his powerful punches. Tuivasa envisions winning the fight Bam Bam style, which is likely a reference to his nickname Bam Bam, indicating that he plans to win spectacularly and explosively. After that, he adds a touch of local flair to his victory prediction by saying that he sees himself celebrating with a shoey on top. Tuivasa's statement is purely an Australian gesture, not only for the people of Sydney, but for all of Australia to see. It's his way of making the victory even more special and memorable for the UFC. Adesanya eager to headline UFC 300. You know, Israel. Adesanya has some big plans for the UFC's future. Right now, he's all set to defend his middleweight title against Sean Strickland in the main event of UFC 293, happening this Saturday at Kudos Bank Arena in Sydney. But here's the exciting part. Israel Adesanya is expressing his desire to be the headlining fighter in the upcoming UFC 300 event. He's talking to reporters during Media Day and sharing his thoughts. He's confident that he'll reach this milestone because he knows he won't be around for UFC 400. In essence, he's acknowledging the history of the sport, the significance of these landmark events, and his aspiration to leave his mark by participating in UFC 300, an event he anticipates will be a significant moment in the UFC's journey. It's a statement of his commitment to his career and his ambition to be a part of the sport's history. I'd love to headline that, but we'll see, Adesanya told MMA Junkie and other reporters at Media Day. I've watched UFC 100, that was Brock Lesnar versus Frank Mir. UFC 200, that was Miesha Tate versus Amanda Nunes. I've been a fan of the sport for a long time. UFC 300, I'm going to touch that, because I know I'm not going to hit UFC 400, so I'm going to hit UFC 300. Adesanya wants his teammate Alexander Volkanovski to join UFC 300 and is willing to relinquish the main event spot for him. That's one I'm going to be a part of, and Alex Volkanovski as well, I feel should be a part of, Adesanya continued. I'll co-headline for Alex Volkanovski. That's my dog. If he doesn't fight, then I'll headline it. I'm sure there are other people as well. Conor McGregor will probably try and jump in there because he's a superstar, and he'll just get whatever he wants. Yeah, we'll see. Moreover, Adesanya acknowledges that there could be other fighters interested in headlining UFC 300, including someone like Conor McGregor, who is a superstar and tends to have a say in his fight arrangements. Adesanya is aware that McGregor's star power might influence the event's lineup, so he's keeping an open mind about how it will all play out. All right, guys, that's all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you at the next one. Until then, goodbye.